Hello, hello. We are reading a bonus chapter of the One Punch Man remake. This is one that was released, I think, at the end of the latest volume, which we saw pictures of the cover of. It looks fantastic. I'm very excited to see kind of what expanded universe type stuff we're going to get out of these bonus stories, which of course aren't usually directly central to the plot advancement, although sometimes there are some overlaps that end up being meaningful, like Glasses splintering from the Blizzard group, and becoming his own hero. That ended up being a factor in the main plotline. Little things like that. So this chapter is called Owned Items. This is the surface team that came with them at the initial raid of the Monster Association, but did not go down into the hole. Weapon looks hard to handle. Try using it in a way that you don't hit your allies when you're swinging it around. Fair enough. If I've been using this guy for a long time, I'm not going to miss like that. Be fine without having any weapons. This is kind of fun, you know. They're strategizing, they're chatting. Got my baton, especially made for me by the artisans at the Hero Association. So we've had a few references to this before. And one of the perks of being in the Hero Association is that you get kind of technology and weapon support and lots of things made for you. Metal Bat, of course, requesting a metal bat that never, ever breaks. Things like that. I'm going to fight barehanded. Various weapons, various concealed weapons called hidden tools. There's at least 30 of them. This guy looks intense. The teardrop thing reminds me a lot of the Jester guy in Hunter x Hunter. I can't think of what his name is. His whole kind of demeanor, I think, kind of overlaps there. Interesting. Be fine looking all conspicuous like that. Also prepared for battle. So yeah, they're just hanging out. All these kind of middling heroes. By controlling psychic powers with this headgear, sit smoothly to the feel anxious. Aww. These poor minor espers, sorry. Not everybody can be Tatsumaki. Not everybody can even be Fubuki. Some people are just this guy, who kind of looks like Godot from Phoenix Wright. That's the guy's name, right? Godot. Ask the association to have a handgun ready. Keep some secret weapons in case an emergency occurs. Oh, it's Pig God! Interesting. I like that they're kind of walking behind the S-Class heroes. It feels very symbolic. This is kind of how they've seen the S-Class heroes before. It's just these people sort of in the distance, traveling away from them, capable of things they can't even comprehend. And while they're all kind of sorting out weapons and reassuring each other and learning about each other, it's just the S-Classes are just gone. Pig God with his huge backpack. What's going on there? Not seen him fighting, but I guess he also uses some sort of device to fight. Retrieving something from his luggage. Weapon? No, it's of course a snack. Of course this backpack is just full of food. So Pig God, we've seen him fight just a few times. And every time all he does is just try to eat the enemy. This is the only kind of procedure for fighting we've seen from him. And it's quite effective. He can eat most enemies. But there was a time in the webcomic where during the climactic battle of the Hero Association versus the Monster Association, he said something like, oh, I'll have to use that, right? He said something like, I was hoping I wouldn't have to use this. And it was like the real kind of cliched shonen line of, especially referring to it as that, you know, not actually naming the technique. I've seen people speculate that he can suddenly like switch on his metabolism and process all of this food energy that he's stored within himself. He'll like shrink down and become skinny and then fight like an absolute champion. I'm hoping that's the case. That sounds like super sweet. I think that's going to be super hype if it ever comes into play. Aside from that, I'm not quite really sure what it could be. Like, you know, as this guy is observing, he's just a normal guy. He just eats a lot. I think something to eat back then as well. Is he going to have a snack again? The ritual before fighting. I also eat rice balls before heading out. So this is another kind of fatty fighter. Offers an onigiri to his fat fight senpai. You get an increase in your strength after eating. Just eat because I'm hungry. Yeah, yeah. It's more the hunger. If anything, it's decreasing his fighting ability. Because I would imagine that when he's like actually like ravenous, when he's actually really hungry, his desire to just consume monsters could become even more powerful, even more potent, bringing him into some sort of hunger rage thing. These are cute shots, though. Refrain from the chit-chatting and concentrate. I was about to say, this chapter has a really cozy feel, because they are just chit-chatting, even as they head into such a foreboding fight. Feel a bit less nervous now. Nice, nice. So I think that's it. Yep, just a short little bonus chapter. The length of them depends pretty heavily on the number of chapters they're putting into the latest volume and how long each of those chapters are. I'm very excited to get the volumes that contain like the 100-page chapters, like Elder Centipede versus Genos and stuff. That it must be so hard to work out what's going to be in the tankobon when the chapter lengths vary from like 15 pages to 150 pages. But yeah, all right, so that's it for that. I just finished watching the second season. Overall, I was quite impressed. A lot of people were pretty upset that the production quality had gone down since the first season, Madhouse doing the first season, and this one being handled by JC Staff, I think. And that's true. I mean, it is a lot worse. You can't really get around that. But I think they were smart in kind of what they focused on. I think the things that really needed to be done well were still done well in terms of animation. And for most of the time, what a friend of mine pointed this out to me, he's like, doesn't this kind of just remind you of classic shonen? Like from before shonen kind of... And actually, One Punch Man was a big part of this kind of revolution happening. Before people realized that you can actually put a lot of work into your shonen adaptation and expand the audience instead of just kind of pooping out anything knowing that the diehard fans of the original manga were still going to watch it. This total revolution in thinking. But, I'm quite nostalgic for the shonen series made before that and ones that are still running from that era. Just the kind of way that they're shot, it's kind of cozy in a way. The really kind of languid pacing at times, and actually the pacing of One Punch Man Season 2 is really fantastic. But yeah, they use a lot of the same sort of cuts, the same sort of cost-cutting techniques, things like that. So that really endeared it to me. That made me a lot happier about the production. So I'm really glad that he kind of used that analogy. And all the things that are so great about this series remained great. Like, it was still just so entertaining. Just seeing the characters, the humor still came through so well. The voice acting, fantastic. The suspense and the climaxes, even though I've already read this in 2 forms, still seeing it animated has a unique appeal. So, yeah, overall pretty good. I think what it did that really I hadn't really considered so much when I was reading it in the manga is it emphasized the Elder Centipede fight in a way that I think is really hype. Because in the manga, when I was reading it, I just wasn't prepared for this at all, because in the original webcomic, Elder Centipede is nowhere near as important as a character. But as I was reading it, I was like, oh man, yeah, this is... Or as I was watching the anime, I started to really comprehend, like, yeah, this is actually a fairly climactic battle. Like, this is a big deal. They're going up against the first executive of the Monster Association they fought. I mean, there was, what's his face? The martial arts champion, but he got one-punched. And they're really, like, driving home how big a deal it is that this is like a dragon-level threat, that this is someone in the upper echelon of the Monster Association. And then I looked back at kind of how they foreshadowed the other Monster Association executives, and it's like, oh man, like, are we actually going to get more fights of this quality, of this hugeness? I'm super excited. Oh my god, the Monster Association arc. It's just so good. Alright, so we'll look forward to more of this.